I'm your gracious host, Old School. That's OLESKOOL. And I have pleasure of interviewing a very special guest, Miss Sirrena Buie. Today we are going to be discussing the death of Kedric Buie and the circumstances surrounding the death of her son. Kedrick was Serena's son. So, Serena, tell us about your son.
Kedrick, he was 26 years old. He was the type of person, he was a very loving, joking person. He loved to help people as much as he could. He also was in a band at one time where he blew the trumpet and you could hear him coming up the street.
Right.
Um, he was the type of person that he loved to eat. He loved to watch me cook and see how I did it. I remember one time I smelled chocolate and I kept smelling chocolate. So I'm wondering where the chocolate was coming from. Well, Kendra had them bake the whole cake and put it up under the bed.
Hmm.
So when I found the cake, I'm like, really? Y'all don't bake the whole cake? So he let me knew that he had been paying attention to the things that I do. But Kendra was a very loving person, very helpful. He loved to talk. He loved to crack. He have a identical twin brother, and them two get together and they start cracking. It's like everybody finna laugh the rest of the day. I mean, he
Right.
just was such a people person.
Def Comedy Jam. I get it. I get it. So, when your son was incarcerated, he had a 87-month sentence. That's what, roughly 5 to 7 years, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Now, how did you learn about your son's death?
How I learned about my son' death, I talked to Ketcher that Saturday, and we had a good conversation. And he was saying, "Mom, I love you," and tell my brother, my daddy, and I called you tomorrow to make sure that you put the money on the book because he was getting ready to get transferred that Monday. Well,
Transfer
that's
where? Did he? Excuse me. I don't mean to interrupt you. Where was he supposed to be getting transferred from
he
and
did
to
not.
where?
Well, he was getting transferred from Atlanta, Georgia to another prison, but he did not know what prison it was because they hadn't told him which prison it was.
Okay.
So it was like up in the air.
Right. Right.
So I got a call about 10 minutes to 11 saying that they needed to speak with Sirrena Buie, and I said speaking, and were anyone at home with me, and I told them yeah. So they wanted to inform me that they found my son dead. And when they told me that, I couldn't talk anymore. I couldn't say nothing. I told them they had to call me back to get myself together because it didn't seem real. I had just talked to Ketch.
Right. Well, after they told you that, were you able to go to the prison to identify his body?
No,
No.
I was not. No, I was not allowed at the prison. I was not allowed. They wouldn't tell me where his body was at. They wouldn't give me no information. I was taught to very rudely that they didn't care what had happened, but if my tone did not change, that they wasn't going to transfer me to the person that I needed to talk to. So they didn't give me any information.
You said when your if your tone didn't change, so I'm guessing they were speaking about your anger of learning that your
Yes.
son was no longer with us. Right, right. Now, what was the cause of death as told to you by the Federal Bureau of Prisons?
Well, when I got the call said that they found my son dead,
Right,
but it took um it took a while for me to get the information. But the information stated that he died from a coronary artery heart disease, hypertension, obesity.
and that's a heart attack.
Yes.
Now, do you believe that was his actual cause of death?
Well, I do. If the heart if the heart attack did occur, it had a lot to do with the trauma to my son's body that could have caused him to go into cardiac arrest.
Right. Now, for those of us that don't really know, what are we talking about when we say the trauma that was caused to his body? What are you saying?
Okay, in the autopsy, the summary says that it was called coronary artery heart disease, hypertension, obesity. It also said that he had blunt force trauma to the head, blunt force trauma to the torso, bruises, contusion, hemorrhaging, and other injuries to his body as well.
Right, right. Now, that was their autopsy report. Did you have an independent autopsy report conducted yourself? And if so, what did it reveal?
Well, no, I did not have one done because I was not able to get his body. I couldn't get Kedric body until 2 or 3 days before the funeral. It got here. It happened on the 13th. His body didn't arrive until the 23rd, and the funeral was on the 26th. So they
Mm.
had did everything that they had to do.
Well, this might be jumping ahead a little bit, but did you file a Bivens claim?
I'm not really sure because I have filed so much stuff over the years. So I that right there is not clicking right now, and I probably did, but I was on a rampage at one time trying to figure out which way to go to find out exactly what happened to my husband. I'm sorry, my
Your
son.
son.
But I have filed different types of paperwork to the BOP.
Well, a Bivens claim, it basically it's a civil rights lawsuit for monetary damages against federal officials.
Oh,
Did you
no, I don't.
file any type of complaint with the
Hmm.
director of the Bureau of Prisons?
Yes, I did file complaints over the years. I just filed another complaint maybe 2.5 years ago.
And what was the results of that? Is anyone trying to help you out or anything like that? No assistance at all.
N- No,
So
no,
when you call these officials, are they returning your calls? Are they being of any help, any assistance at all? None
no,
whatsoever.
no.
Oh man. Well, are you aware that on February 15th of this year, the Department of Justice came out with reports findings that the Bureau of Prisons have been killing prisoners all over the United States,
Hmm.
and your son could allegedly be one of those victims.
Yes, yes,
Now, when
yes.
did you find out this information?
I got this information. I want to say is right over a week ago. A friend of mine sent me the information, and I was just stunned that they don't did a second investigation because they had just did one in 2021 and then turned around and did this one. So I was really shocked. And when I read what was going on, it's like, they know that the inmates are being killed, but it's nothing being done about it. I mean, they talking about it, but they not really doing anything about it.
Right. Now, when you and I spoke previously, you said to me that there was an inmate that you had spoken to, or someone that was trying to reach out to you that said he had some information regarding Kedric's death. Am I correct in saying that?
Uh-huh.
Now, what was the information that came from that?
Well, I was told that they witnessed Ketcher and the correctional officer having an altercation on several occasions, and that Ketcher would never bad down. He just wouldn't bad down. He said what he had to say. So I asked the inmate, would he be willing to write something stating this, or he told me that he just couldn't. He couldn't get in it because he was on probation.
Right.
But he did let me know that he said your son, did not just let them miss over him. And so I know for a fact that Kitcher had issues with the correction officer, or they
The
had
correct.
issues with him.
Right, right. Now I was reading in some of the reports that they may have tried to plant some heroin or some sort of drug in his cell to make it seem like he had overdosed. But when they conducted the autopsy, he had no drugs or anything like that in his system. Is that correct?
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
So what was the outcome of that? When you did you seek any type of did you reach out to any attorneys, to seek justice behind that?
Well, I reached out to so many attorneys. I had one in 2019 of January where he dropped my case August the 6th or the 7th of 2019, 6 or 7 days before the deadline limitation, because he said that the autopsy, the information didn't have enough blood in it, and which it didn't make sense. But he ended up dropping the case. So I um, filed some paperwork myself through the BOP, the federal prison. I went to Atlanta, Georgia, and filed some paperwork, and the judge was asking me for information that I did not have, so that ended up being dropped.
Mm. So did they give you any reason to why they were dropping the case?
I They were saying that I didn't give them enough information, but I only gave them what I had. I
What you
mean,
had?
the judge could get the information quicker than I can, so
Right,
I didn't.
right.
It didn't make sense to me. Why would you hold me accountable for that when you know that I only can get what they give me?
What they give you. Right, right, right. And of course, the judicial system is we don't even need to speak about that. But
Yeah.
you do know that, when filing any suit against the prison, you must assert all claims against the US government, right?
No, I didn't know that.
That's just something to take note of, make note of that. Now, did the federal government in any way provide you with any type of assistance? I mean, anything. No, nothing.
The the only thing that they did were they buried Kedrick. Let me take that back. They did the autopsy. They did the embalming. They got the casket. They dressed him. Um, and they drove his body to Birmingham. So anything after then, it was on me. So I had to come up with the money for the burial and come up with the money for the funeral.
Okay, so that basically everything that they did, you had to pay for that.
Well, what they did, I didn't have to pay for it, but they was the only way that they would pay for the funeral and the burial is that if I let them do it in Atlanta, Georgia, and I told them that I was not going to let them do that. I wanted my son transferred to Birmingham. So
Right.
by them transferring his body to Birmingham, that means that the rest of it was on me, which was the funeral and the burial.
Okay. So had you had it in Atlanta, they would have paid for everything.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Now, uh, how do you feel now that the Department of Justice has exposed the Federal Bureau of Prisons of false findings of killings as a means to justify the killing of your son?
Um, it's been a long road. It's been a long time, and when I think about how many people that have lost their lives and nothing was done about it, it beginning to be something that they comfortable with taking the inmates' lives. But I'm praying that doing this investigation this time that something is done, and it's remain I mean pertaining to my son as well, because it's not right that a mother have to go on 7 years, really can't live my life, can't get to the person that I were because of the fact that I don't have closure that I need dealing with what happened to my son.
Right. And Kedrick's death was in 2017, correct?
Uh-huh, 2017.
2017. Mm. Now, based on the Departments of Justice findings, do you feel like you have been lied to?
Yes, I have. I've been lied to. Um, I've been pushed around thinking that they feel that I was going to just let go because of the time that I contacted them, that they didn't respond. But this is a situation that is no way that you can just turn your head. We're talking about a human being, and he was my son. And every day I live this. Every day I think about what they did to my son. On top of, did my son suffer? You
Right.
know, one inmate told me that the night of my son, he said that my son got into it with the inmate, I mean, with the correctional officer because the correctional officer spitting his food. So he told me that later on that night, they heard somebody hollering. And the way that the prison is made, from what he told me, you could see the cells, but they got some kind of bend that go around where they have people in there where they could do what they want without you seeing it. But he told me that he heard my son hollering that day. And
Yeah, take your time. Take your time. Yeah, it's terrible.
one of the officers that I was told that had something to do with it said that he came to work the next day and he was hopping, and they asked him, I think his name was Officer Scott if I'm not mistaken, and they asked him what happened to his feet, his leg, and he said that he sprung it some kind of way. But from my understanding, the inmates in the prison know that it came from what they did to my son,
Right,
and they
right.
said that it was at least 5 or 6 correctional officers.
Yeah, because he was in there fighting back. Yeah,
Yeah.
I wish we had. Do you have a name on? Well, we'll talk about that offline. If you have the inmate's name, or if that inmate is still incarcerated, is he still incarcerated?
I don't know because he haven't reached out in the last 3 years, so I haven't heard anything from him. So
Right,
um people often reach out, inmates often reach out saying that they knew my son, and they often say that they can't believe that this happened to him. But they Ketcher was the type of person, if you don't bother him, he's not going to bother you. But when you think that you're going to bother him, then he's the type that he's going to protect himself.
right,
So I guess they didn't like that part about him.
right. Now, I was also reading in the reports where it seemed like they were trying to conjure up a story to blame it on the inmates by
Hmm.
stating that he allegedly were stealing from the inmates on the compound, and uh, they had to remove him from the prison yard. But I also saw in those reports that he actually went to the lieutenants and told them that he had a problem and wanted to be removed from the compound, and they actually didn't do that. So even in that, it's still endangering inmate safety. Um, did they even give you any explanation on that?
No, they didn't give me any explanation on that. The first time that Ketcher went to them for protected custody, they gave it to him. The second time, they did not give it to him. And maybe 2 weeks or maybe 3 weeks after then, Ketcher was dead.
Mm. Now, in the autopsy report, it said that his skull. Reading the autopsy report, blunt force trauma to the head, contusions, mean hemorrhaging, the brain was bleeding, the skull was cracked. All of that was in the autopsy, but they are saying that he died from a heart attack. Now, that could very well be the case, but it could be, when your body is going through that type of trauma, you can suffer a heart attack. You
Hmm.
can suffer a heart attack. You can't rule out the trauma that was inflicted on this man's body prior to him, passing away. So, to my understanding, because I read the reports from all of the officers, uh, one report says that the officer found Kedrick. Other reports said Kedrick's cellmate came to them and told them that he was unresponsive. Other reports said that uh, when they arrived to the cell, they saw Kedrick's cellmate performing CPR. So it's so many different stories. Uh,
Hmm.
you could tell that they tried to at least stay on code, but the stories were still mixed up, and they didn't go along with the autopsy report. You know, and how his body arrived to the hospital and things of that nature. Um, how have you been doing since the death of your son, and how has it affected you? Has it affected you financially? Just how has everything? Because I can only imagine how it is losing a child.
It have it have affected me mentally, financially. I mean, so many different ways. I have spent money out because at one time I was doing okay, and I was meeting people that saying that they can get this information, they can get this filed, and I needed to pay this and pay that, and I was taking from all my savings and everything to pay people to do stuff. And it took me 2 years to come to find out I had went broke paying people to do stuff that they wasn't doing.
They
So
weren't even doing.
um it messed with me bad. I mean, because when I look at his identical twin, I look at Kedrick. I see Kedrick. Um, I'm not the same person I used to be. I was the type of person that I do catering. I love to cook. I don't even get off into that as much as I used to because of the fact that I'm trying to get closure for what happened to my son. So it did a 360-degree turnaround on my life.
Right,
I
right.
mean,
Now,
it
now,
don't seem real.
right, right. Now, your remaining son, Kedrick's twin, how is he taking it?
It, me and him is it's like I have to wait till he want to talk about his brother. And it used to be a time I bring up stuff that I found out, and I would notice the look that he had on his face. So I got to the point where I wouldn't bring up certain things. I would wait till he come to me and he want to talk about what happened to his brother. But Kimon has not been the same. Kimon feel alone. We talked last week and he said, Mama, he said, my sibling, my only sibling that I had is gone. And he said, Mom, I feel so alone. And I said, Kimon, I know how you feel. I said, because a part of me is gone as well. And we try to cope with it the best that we can, but I mean, it's really hard. It's really hard, and he worries about me a lot, trying to. He don't want me to hide information from him, and I was waiting on some pictures to come in, but I haven't gotten them, and he thought I had got those pictures, and he was like, "Mama, you can't hide stuff from me." I said, "Well, no, these are not the pictures that I want you to look at, which is Ketra autopsy pictures. I want him to see the ones that we supposed to be getting from the prison during the time of Ketra death." But this is how it really have hit hard. It really have. It really have.
Now you do
It
have
really.
those. You do have those pictures, right?
Yeah, I have the autopsy pictures, but I don't have them in my hands. Because they don't want me to have them. They don't even want me to look at them. They're just that graphic. But I have access to getting the pictures.
Right.
I just
Right.
don't. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Well, this is definitely going to be one of those that's going to be ongoing. Um, every time we, like I told you, this is going to be a marathon, and we won't stop until we get answers. That's what we need to do because they're expecting you to just lay down and go away. But that's hard to
yeah,
do when you have a child. I get it, and
yeah.
so what we're gonna do? We're gonna keep revisiting this until we get some answers, until you get justice, and
Yes.
hopefully some attorneys will reach out to you and try to help you out. But before we wrap this episode up, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, how can they do so? You have a social media platform. What do you? How can they get in touch with you if they want to?
Well, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. Um, I'm on Twitter. I'm on just about every platform it is, and I'm up under my original name, but TikTok is up under 77 Milky.
77 Milky is your TikTok handle,
Uh-huh.
and everything else is Sirrena Buie,
Uh-huh.
and that's
Uh-huh.
SIRRENABUIE, correct? Okay,
BUIE.
BUIE. Okay. Um, you got a cash app that you want to put out there in case someone wants to donate and help you out.
Well, it's $ in my name.
$ Sirrena Buie. Got it. Got it.
Uh-huh.
Well,
Uh-huh.
for right now, we're gonna conclude this, but we're gonna have many more. We're definitely gonna
Yes.
have many more, and because we haven't even spoke about everything
Mm-mm.
just yet, but we're gonna do it in future episodes. But I would like to say thank you to you for giving me the opportunity to interview you and talk to me about your son. Now, any in closing remarks, is there anything that you would like to say about Kedrick, his brother, preferably about Kedrick? What would you like to say about him? What would you like people to know about Kedrick?
I would just, everything happened for a reason. And the day before Ketra death, that remains with me because I was the last person in this family to talk to him. And I could just hear Ketra laughing on the phone saying, "Mom, I know you're going to church tomorrow, so don't forget to put the money on the book, and I'll let you know where they're going to transfer me to." But I've been on lockdown because I've been trying to stay out the way. And I just want people to know, just because you get that phone call from the prison, you just don't go by what they say. If I would have been thinking totally different, or I had the money, I would have had a lawyer to be able to help me get my son body. Well, I could have had my own autopsy done, but I wasn't able to do that. So right now it's like I got to keep pushing, I got to keep praying, I got to keep fighting for what happened to my son, because I can see him with a smile on his face right now, because my boys know this. My mom don't play about us. My mom gonna make sure we good. I mean, when my son, when they went to prison, I worked two jobs for almost 3 years to make sure that one of the checks went towards putting on a book to make sure that my boys had money on the book. So, we do what we have to do when it comes to our kids anyway. And I just want the world to know, just don't go by, what they tell you. And for the young men out there, don't get in no trouble, because once you get in trouble, it's not guaranteed that you're going to make it back home to your loved ones. So I just pray that God give me closure with what I'm dealing with. And I also want to thank you for having me on your show. I want to thank you for the way that you have been talking to me and letting me know that it's going to be all right. And we very seldom find legit people, good people, and
Right.
I know that you're a good person. I just thank you for the way that you've been responding and calling and talking to me, because I mean, in a situation like this, I feel just like this just happened to my son. I mean,
Right.
that's just how I feel. It never get to the point where it's going on 7 years. Where it seems like it just happened to me, but I
Right.
know it's going on 7 years.
Right.
So
Right. Right. Yeah, you never get over it. You never get over it. And like I said, I got a with you. I have an open door policy, open phone policy. You can call me anytime, and you know that already. But
yes, I do.
yeah, uh, but again, you don't even have to thank me, because this is what I'm doing for you, and I mean, it brings me joy to be able to help you. So,
Thank you.
in that sense, again, thank you for spending your time with me right now. We are definitely going to review this again next week, and then we're going to get a little bit more deeper into the details and why Kedrick was incarcerated, and we're going to, tell the people a little bit more about who Kedrick was as a person. Okay?
Okay.
So until
Okay.
then, you enjoy the rest of your day, and I will definitely be keeping in touch with you, and we'll speak later on in the week. Okay?
All right. And thank you. And you have a good day too.
You do the same thing. I thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Now, uh, mm, if you like this show, hit the like button. Uh, if you have any questions or feedback or anything like that, or even if you know someone who needs to see this, or if you know anyone that's in a similar situation, leave a comment. Leave a comment down, and subscribe to this channel, because it's going to be more informative videos such as this one to look forward to. So on that note, I'm out of here, and we're gonna let's talk shop later.